A line stretches out the door of a small café. People shift their weight and check their phones. The wait has already changed what they plan to order. Waiting feels like wasted time, but it is actually doing something. It filters who stays and who leaves, and that changes everything for the business. The person who stays committed enough to wait is more likely to spend more once they reach the counter. The queue has already done its job before any sale happens. Economists call this a commitment effect. When people invest time in something, they feel pressure to justify that investment with a larger decision at the end. This is not unique to cafes. The same mechanism shows up in theme parks, restaurants, and even government offices. The wait shapes behavior before the transaction starts. A business that removes the wait entirely might actually reduce how much customers spend. Speed and revenue do not always move in the same direction. That seems counterintuitive. We assume faster is always better for business. But time spent waiting is time spent wanting, and wanting often leads to spending more. Theme parks understood this early. They designed long winding paths through their queues intentionally, placing visual distractions along the way to maintain engagement and desire. The winding path makes the queue feel shorter than it is. That managed perception keeps people in line who would otherwise have turned back at the entrance. Perception of wait time matters as much as actual wait time. People who feel informed about how long they will wait tend to stay in line significantly longer without discomfort. This is why elevator lobbies started displaying floor indicators long before elevators became fast. The display was not informational. It was behavioral management disguised as service. Managing perceived wait time became its own industry. Consultants were hired specifically to make waits feel shorter, without actually making them shorter. The queue was an experience to design. Now consider what happens when a business offers a way to skip the queue for a fee. A second tier appears. The line becomes a product with two prices instead of one shared experience. Airlines pioneered this model. Business class did not exist to serve different needs. It existed to make the standard experience feel like a sacrifice worth paying to avoid. Economists call this versioning. You take one product and make two versions. A comfortable one and a deliberately less comfortable one. The discomfort is engineered, not accidental. The standard version is made worse to make the premium version feel worth the price. This is not cruelty. It is a calculated use of contrast as a pricing mechanism. The key insight here is that value is relative, not absolute. People do not assess whether something is worth a price in isolation. They assess it compared to the alternative they are standing next to. This is why grocery stores place premium items at eye level and budget items near the floor. The queue to your eyes has already been designed before you pick anything up. Every physical arrangement in a retail space is a queue for attention. Where your eyes go first determines what you consider. What you consider first becomes the reference point for every choice after. Now let's go back to the queue itself. Businesses notice that people in line often buy more when they pass through a curated display zone while waiting. The wait became a sales floor. This is the queue as funnel model. The business captures attention during the idle moment when the consumer has nothing else to do and nowhere to go. Attention is the resource being harvested. Supermarkets mastered this model first. The checkout lane is deliberately narrow. The impulse items placed beside it are not random. Each position was tested and optimized for conversion rate. If you subscribe to this channel, you will keep learning about the hidden mechanics behind everyday decisions. Each video explains one mechanism in plain language, no economics degree required. The digital world adopted the same logic. Online checkout flows are deliberately long. Extra steps were added not for security, but because each step is a moment to place another item in your path. Friction, in economics, means any resistance that slows a transaction. For most of history, businesses tried to reduce friction. Then some discovered that controlled friction increases revenue. A subscription cancellation page that requires 4 steps instead of 1 is a queue. Each step is a moment where the person might stop and stay. Friction retains customers the same way A queue retains diners. The same principle governs how returns are designed. Making a return inconvenient is a financial strategy. A portion of buyers will keep an item they dislike rather than endure the process of sending it back. Economists have a term for this: the sunk cost of effort. Once you have invested enough energy in a process, the energy already spent starts to feel like a reason to continue, even when continuing does not make sense. The most profitable queues are the ones people choose to enter again. A wait that felt meaningful creates a memory of value. That memory is what drives the return visit more than the product itself. Restaurants have long understood that a wait for a table signals quality. An empty restaurant feels like a warning. A restaurant with a queue outside it feels like a promise of something worth having. The queue is social proof made physical. When people see others waiting, they interpret the wait as evidence of worthiness. The line does the marketing that an advertisement could never do as convincingly. This creates a self-reinforcing loop. More people in line attract more people to the line, which attracts more still. The queue grows its own demand. A business with a queue has an asset that an empty one does not. There is a tipping point, though. A queue that grows too long stops being social proof and starts being a deterrent. The business must calibrate the wait, or it begins losing the customers it was trying to attract. Managing queue length is a live operational decision. Businesses constantly balance throughput, or how fast they serve people, against wait time, and wait time against the behavioral effects of the wait on spending. Technology offered a new tool: the virtual queue. Customers are given a place in line without being physically present. They can go elsewhere until their turn arrives. The wait continues, but the body is released. The virtual queue solved physical discomfort. What it also did was eliminate the browsing and impulse buying that happened while people physically waited. Businesses gained convenience but lost the idle sales window. Every solution creates a new constraint. Removing physical waiting reduced one friction while introducing a different problem. How do you capture attention when there is no queue to hold people in place? The answer that emerged was the notification. A digital ping replaced the physical line. But the notification arrived into an environment full of competing pings, and the attention advantage of the physical queue was largely gone. The physical queue gave businesses a captive audience. The digital alternative gave people their freedom back, and with it, businesses lost control of the moment when a customer was most ready to spend. This is why some businesses intentionally reintroduced physical queues after experimenting with fully digital systems. The physical wait is not inefficiency. It is a designed experience that produces measurable behavioral outcomes. The queue is older than money. Markets, temples, wells, grain stores. Everywhere, humans gathered to receive something scarce: a line formed. The behaviors we see in modern retail are the same behaviors in ancient clothing. What changed is not human behavior. What changed is the sophistication with which that behavior is understood and exploited. The line was always there. The science of designing it came much later. Next time you stand in a line, consider what it is actually doing to you. It is not just organizing access. It is building commitment, filtering intent, shaping perception, and priming a spending decision. The queue is a system, and like every system, it is designed by someone with a goal. Recognizing the design does not protect you from it entirely, but it does let you see what is actually happening around you. The queue ahead still winds out of sight. The system is still in motion. The mechanisms that shaped the people before you are now shaping you. And somewhere, the next version of this design is already being tested.